Hi, and welcome to the Law Simplified. I'm Shaveen Bandaranaike. This is the submission. We started about a week and a half ago with the first episode of this particular series where we look at different questions, more incidental questions, let's say, law students and legal professionals have. And y'all have reached out to me on the different platforms, DM'd me as well on the YouTube channel, as well as the different on the online law school, as well as even through the Fast Track and Masterclass programs. So I do appreciate all the questions that are coming my way. I'm trying to compile them, and in the beginning, just so that we have some consistency, to essentially wrap one of these episodes around a very prudent, let's say, very pertinent question that might be plaguing a lot of students, especially when it comes to assessments or examinations or assignment submissions. So that being said, do bear with me throughout the next series of episodes. I'll try to get to most of the questions that you have sent across, and perhaps we'll do a live stream as well sometime in the near future. Right. So that being said, one of the major questions that I kept getting asked was in relation to what to do next. So what I mean by this is most students have felt a sense of remission when it comes to examinations or assignment submissions. So basically, the question I got asked quite predominantly was, after you do an examination, after you submit an assignment, what's the next step to prepare best for the next hurdle to be tackled, the next battle, so to speak, to go into. Now, this gives me an opportunity to actually outline something that many students tend to sort of dive into, which is not at all recommended, especially if you have a series of assignments or assessments that's happening at the same time. More often than not, that's what's the case when it comes to a university degree. So this particular thing that a lot of students do, which I've heard them do as well, which really affects students to a great degree, is listening to and considering the opinions of other students post-assessment or post-assignment submission. So there are many times that I've been told by students that they had answered a question or they had put down their response. They come out of an examination center and then, or they do a submission online, and then they either WhatsApp message or talk to their colleagues, or just outside of the assessment center itself, outside of the examination center, they speak to people, and everyone starts speculating on the different questions that they have answered. It's been a perennial advice or a recommendation that I have given to students, that once they complete their assessment, once they complete their assignment, that they straight away head home. Not to really listen to anyone outside of an examination center or an assessment center, specifically if you have other assessments coming up in the coming days, in the weeks, let's say, because there is a sense of dread that can befall you if you've heard of some students saying, hey, question 2, wasn't it this particular aspect of contract law? Or did you manage to incorporate the postal rule? Did you consider rejection? Or did you consider the rules in Dickinson and Dodds? And sometimes there are occasions when perhaps that is completely incorrect, or that the argument that that student had gone with, while correct in nature, might not fit into the path that you had taken in that question. But what's worse is that when you listen to these different opinions floating around without much substantiation at that point of time, especially if you have another assessment or some sort of examination happening in a week or two, even tomorrow for that matter, that's going to affect you mentally, because whether you like it or not, we are all human, and your preparation for those examinations will also get hindered, because you'll start thinking about and you'll start making postmortems on the examination that just passed. Now, this is not really much of a problem if you've done only one exam and that's all you have to do. You'll think about it, yes, and you'll try to ponder over it, and then you'll get your results, and it's either affecting it or not. But in the long run, if you have a lot of examinations happening in one set, it does affect you mentally. So I've perennially, as I mentioned, told all of my students, when you finish an assessment, when you finish an examination, just head home. Don't talk to anyone. Don't worry about the opinions of others at that stage. And this is this bubble or this burst of information that you get at that point, because it's not to fault your colleagues or your friends, but everyone's quite excited and everyone's hyped up at that moment after finishing the examination and searching for reassurance. They want to, misery loves company, so to speak. They want to find out if the way they answered is substantiated by others. Strength in numbers. And you need not get into that bubble at that stage, because it is going to affect you mentally. This same principle applies for assignments as well. I've heard of a number of times when students have essentially submitted something, and nowadays the most common thing is that students would get into WhatsApp groups, Telegram or Signal groups, and then they would pretty much talk about what exactly they have submitted, whether there was anything that they would have incorporated, another argument, and so on and so forth. And I would argue that even more than that face-to-face examination or post-examination context, this is even more information that you're bombarded with. And it's even worse. So try to keep away for quite some time post-examination or assignment submission, purely to keep your sanity and also for it to not be a hindrance to your examinations to come. Now, this is a question that's been asked from me multiple times, hence why I thought it deserves a spot on the submission on this series as well. Do keep sending across your questions and do keep sending across any queries that you have. I'll be more than happy to do videos on it as we go along. There's a bunch that's already sort of in the pipeline. It's just that in the beginning, this series has to start with something that is usable by students across the board. And this was a common concern that many students had. What should I do immediately after my assessment or assignment? Now, we'll do a series on preparation as well, on how best to understand and how best to tackle examinations that are coming consecutively to one another in one of the videos to come. But make sure you subscribe to the channel. Do give a thumbs up to this video as well if it was helpful. Make sure you check out some of the links in the description below if you want to get guided advice on how exactly to tackle the theory components, how to answer questions. There's quite a lively legal community that's now built on the online law school, which I'm very happy and proud about. It's a multi-ethnic, multi-jurisdictional community as well. So I highly recommend you enrolling in that as well. But until the next time that we speak, have fun, stay safe, and as always, obey the law.